It's absolutely crucial that companies really understand the value they deliver to customers, simply because, certainly in an innovation phase, what you don't want to do is to have innovation failure. And it's always at this point where you've invented something, you've created something, you've spent a lot of time on it, but if you haven't engaged with the customer or the potential customer, there's an enormous possibility that you might not meet their requirements, that the value that you hope you're going to deliver isn't actually the kind of value that's desired by that end user customer. So bringing the customer into innovation allows you to test and work on making sure that you've got the packaging right, that you have got the engagement process right. Companies always need to start the process by examining where are their customers hanging out? What is the market that they're going after? There's a huge amount of market research that needs to happen at this stage. So examining what is happening in the selected market segment, that can be a geography or an industry sector, whatever is right for this particular innovation, for this particular concept, and then looking at what are the market drivers, what is actually happening in that market that is putting pressure on the customers, and therefore what are they likely to buy? So you look at the market segment, you look at the market drivers, then you start to look at, so who are the customers that are living within that segment, within those market drivers? Who's the buyer? What are they influenced by? Who are they influenced by? And then taking a look at what are the risks that those people perceive if they were to choose you and your innovation. And if you don't look at the risks, you're not being honest with yourself. And this is a real exercise in honesty. If the customer thinks you're too small, too new, too flaky, it could be anything, but it is absolutely critical that you start to understand that. And that's when once you've got that understanding of what your market is doing, that you can start to look more at customers. Customer value. It's a really interesting topic because most people assume it is something that people think. And value is made up of three things. It's made up of rational value. So that can be price, speed, cost, detail, the actual functionality of the product, and it's what we think. Value is made up of so much more than that. It also includes the emotional. How do I feel? Do I like you? Are you easy to do business with? Do I trust you? The ultimate value driver. Do I trust you? Do I trust this innovation? So it's really understanding the emotional side of people. People make emotional decisions all the time and then post-rationalise it and say, yes, I read all the data and that's why I did it. You went with your gut a lot of the time, is what customers do. And then the third aspect of value is what we call socio-political. It's how do you make me look around here? Am I going to get promoted? Am I going to get fired? Am I going to get my bonus this year? Am I going to get the best car in the fleet? And it's all of these drivers of how are you going to help me personally look good or, very often, not look bad? So rational, emotional, socio-political, and that is what I mean by customer value. Finding out about customer value is the absolute crucial aspect of this process. You can't make this up. I know everybody who's watching this is going to say, I know what my customers value. You know, yes, you do. I'm not saying that you don't. But what you may not know is the priority or intensity of how you do things is actually much more than what you're doing. It's the way that you do things that's important. And there is a hierarchy to value that you need to find out. And you do that by customer interviewing. One-to-one business interviewing, actually asking questions and not taking the first pat answer that comes out of, you did a great job around quality. It was really high quality. It's taking that answer and saying, interesting. So what does quality mean for you then, Jim? How does that play out in your working day? What does it mean to you personally? And really trying to get under the skin of that sort of surface level answer. And that's why it has to be a business interview. It can't be a questionnaire or a net promoter score. It has to be questions to get out the rational, the emotional, and the socio-political. And you just can't do that by saying, do you like me? You've got to ease into this. You've got to have a good business professional or a third party who finds out that customer value for you, and it will reveal jewels beyond price. I promise, jewels beyond price. The value pyramid is an incredibly powerful tool. It is an alignment exercise. It is about taking your innovation concept and aligning it with how the customer will perceive what that innovation is going to do for them. If the innovation you believe is really going to resolve a genuine major business problem, then it's probably quite high up on the value pyramid, and you need to put your sales and marketing and packaging and positioning around that to help resolve the customer's pain, the real need that that customer has. On the other hand, if the customer is an expert buyer, they're going to see this innovation as useful, but not earth-changing, sort of world-changing. Then you're going to have to be very articulate as to why they should choose your concept as opposed to an alternative or competing concept. So it's about an alignment of really, really valuable to, yes, jolly useful, but it's between you or somebody else. Because if you can't articulate the real value, you're going to have real trouble selling it. And so we all want to be able to sell this. And so you need to decide, if you believe this is solving a problem, you've got to be very clear what that problem is. And that allows you to be able to judge the correct sales approach, the correct marketing approach, the correct pricing policy, how much margin you want for it. So you can decide and define by aligning the product and service with the value that the customer is going to get. And if you misalign, you end up with either incredibly high cost of sale because you've got very expensive sales professionals, a lot of expensive marketing programs and sales campaigns for something that you're desperately trying to persuade the customer to buy. Means you have not hit the value hierarchy. They are not seeing it as valuable. So you can have a very high cost of sale, or you're horribly underselling. And I have to say, I have seen that quite a lot, where people are, oh, well, I think it's quite good. And they get really kind of too humble about the value of this and undersell it and try and throw more value in to win it because I think I'm not quite sure about it. So it's also a confidence alignment as well. If you really know the value that your product is going to bring, your service is going to bring, your innovation is going to bring, you need to stand up to that and articulate the value. And if you can't, customers will drag you down to a commodity. And nobody wants that if that's not the case. So it's a hugely useful tool to assess for value hierarchy. When you're thinking about innovation, quite a lot of the time, you may find that the value as it is currently created may be more valuable if you put something around it. So if you create something that is moderately valuable, you can boost the innovation power, if you like, by adding value to the customer. And it may be by putting a service wrapper around it, it may be putting training around it or consulting around it, so that it adds that value that solves really the pain. So it could be the thing, whatever the innovation concept is, in alignment with something that adds the value. And so you can judge where you want to be and how you want to package it that will allow you to deliver that value so that you've got that correct alignment. Because at the end of the day, value hierarchy and the creation of value and value propositions is about helping your customer to succeed. So many people fail because they're trying to sell what they want. So you've got to sell, but if you sell in a way that solves a customer's problem and impacts their business needs, trust me, you'll sell so much more.